this, I do want to go back to the pathology of comparison, because I think that's a huge problem. And first off, before I ask the question, Dr. L, thank you for modeling what you're talking about, which is
modeling my wedding dress?
Which you look fantastic, by the way, but just being present in the moment and showing your excitement, and that, that definitely helps us. You mentioned that, but I just think it's awesome that you're doing it. Because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. Also, when it goes back to the pathology of comparison, it's kind of the root of everything bad other than natural disasters. How do you get people to stop? Because I would think it would go down during this time where you're at home by yourself, but what we tend to do is kids and adults, we get on social media and start looking at people and what they're doing and comparing ourselves to others. If you had a client come in that had an issue with that's always comparing themselves to other people, what do you say to them? How do you get them to maybe think differently? And I know that's the big question, and it's super hard to answer, but I'm very curious what you have to say.
So, well, it's sort of hard to answer. I mean, one of the easiest answer is, you said let's say you had a client that comes in and talks about comparison. That would be all of them. So just literally, I think any client I've ever worked with, we've talked about it, right? Because the other thing is here's the thing that I think is super interesting about comparison is that it's rooted, actually, my belief, I don't know if there's data on this, but it's rooted in our desire for connection. Because what we're looking for is, are they like me? And so it's rooted in this desire to belong and to connect. The problem is, it taps into our insecurities. And the truth is, we all have insecurities, every single one of us, right? Some of us have really big ones that manipulate our behavior and our thoughts all the time. Others just have little ones. One for me right now is the 2 inches of gray that's coming in. So, we all have our tiny little insecurities, but when we engage sort of in this seeking for connection and for belonging, one of the things that we engage in is comparison. And so one of the things that I work with my clients is exactly what I talked about in the very beginning, which Johnny articulated beautifully, wrapping up 5 minutes of what I said in 10 seconds of what he said, which was, listen, if you're trying to be this individual, nobody will ever get to benefit from you. And so I kind of go back to that. And then I also go back to this root, what is it that you need right now that you feel like you want to get through a comparison? When you spend 30 minutes on Instagram looking at, somebody's fit and toned body, what are you really looking for? And so to try to sort of dial into the seed of what they really want from that. And then to point out, and this is where the cognitive dissonance comes in, is to point out, how does it make you feel? After spending 30 minutes on Instagram, do you feel better about yourself or not so much, right? And sort of holding up that mirror of, how helpful is this for you? And, it takes time. I mean, because again, the truth is, we all compare. It's part of our brain. Our brain likes to look for patterns. It stems from this seed of belonging and connection. So it's something we all have to practice all the time. But I think those 3 things can be helpful, sort of reminding individuals that their unique contribution is critical and that it's seated in connection and belonging, and then really asking, what are they looking for, and holding up sort of the idea of how helpful versus toxic is it for you.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company, pioneering a revolution in craft, non-alcoholic beers. Place your order today at athleticbrewing.com and get free shipping on 2 6-packs or more.